Hey, what's up, Andrew? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I like that logo you have, the Andrew Coates Fitness that popped up when you joined. Oh, there it is.
My shirt. Yeah, I had that made shortly after I started my own business 5 years ago, leaving the old commercial gym. And my friend Dean Somerset, who's here in Edmonton as well, he just had a new logo made for his through 99 Designs. I'm like, ooh, I should go do that too. And then early on, I was like, whoa, I paid a lot of money for this and didn't use it a whole lot. Now it gets a ton of use through all of my different
Yeah.
website and whatnot. So, but I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, no, it looks great. And it's like simple too. Like you can see everything and whatnot, but no, it looks great. So but yeah, I thanks a lot. I was really surprised because my account on Instagram still isn't that big. Like it's new and there's only a few thousand people in there. And I followed you and you messaged me. It must have been within like a minute or two or something. I just thought that was really cool how it seems as though you connect with people a lot on there, which is pretty amazing.
I try. I can't
Yeah.
catch everyone. There are times where I'm definitely trying to go, hey, I appreciate the follow. It Sending a voice message is usually a lot more personalized than just a
Yeah.
text. I did it once, and a guy's like, "Oh, is this a autoresponder?" So I sent a voice message, and he was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I realized, like, oh yeah, maybe I should, send voice. It's kind of a
Yeah.
double-edged sword because if I get a whole bunch of long voice messages back, it's very time consuming
Right.
to listen to them all. So I like scanning text, but I find I can send, and I try to
Yeah.
send short, concise voice messages as well. That every once in a while I'll look down and someone sent me like 4 voice messages that are all a minute long, and I'm like, holy
Like, oh
shit.
shoot.
I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I don't have time between clients to
Yeah.
even like get into that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good
Yeah.
tool to create a connection with people, create a relationship. And I get a lot of, wow, no one's ever done that before.
Yeah, I mean, it's true that that rarely happens, or every once in a while there's like an automated something or whatever. But I don't. I think there's been one or two other people that left voice messages, but it was like the start of a sales pitch. It wasn't saying hello, and I told them I was really nice. I said, "Hey, I appreciate the sales stuff, but I get 10 messages a day with people trying to sell me stuff. So there's a difference. Like, so I will tell people thanks, but no thanks. So
I mean, there's a very cliche script that business coaches will, when they say, hey, and oh, I can't even remember what the script is, but usually I'll say some sort of version, something, how long have you been in personal
yeah.
training? Like, if someone asks you that, you're just like, red flag.
Yeah. Red
I'm not
flags.
I'm not interested in selling anybody anything. Like every once in a while, someone will turn around and be like, hey, do you mentor coaches? And I do a little bit of it. So I threw it up in my story yesterday that I was going to be able to take some people on because we're getting the wave of everything's going nuts
Yeah.
again. So that'll mean there'll be a little bit less in-person stuff I'll be able to do, which
Yeah.
gives me bandwidth to work with some people in a virtual
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And so I figure, okay, cool, I can expand it, open it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's earned through all of the stuff that you put out into the universe. I'm big on the whole like Gary V, jab, 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 right hook, except I'll throw 100 jabs before I ask for anything.
No, that I think that's great that all the mentorship. I just the part that's kind of disturbs me is when people they're trying to manipulate you. There's a whole difference. I mean, you've been around for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like they're kind of trying to be your friend, but by the second message, it's sale pitch. And like I said, people can do their thing, but the approach that you're talking about, that just I don't know, that makes way more sense to me. So
I find that stuff sleazy. I couldn't
yep.
possibly operate that way. I couldn't live that way.
Yep.
I am in a great place in my career where I'm most of the time as busy as I could probably handle in terms of in-person clientele. I have a coach that I work with. I train her and mentor her, and she's at the same facility I am at Evolve. And so
Oh,
anybody
awesome.
like, there's no way I can fit someone into my schedule. I just refer it right over to her. So she was already really solid with her own clientele, but this continues to support her.
Yeah.
And she's someone I can trust with taking care of people who happen to be plugged into my social media and like my philosophies, my approach. Well, she's very similar in a lot of those ways.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still there. I get to meet and interact with these people, but she's the one who takes care of them. So yeah, the hell am I going to do with trying to like throw a sales pitch at every new follower coming in on Instagram. Again, your and my reaction is what I think most people's reactions are. It's like, what the fuck? This is sleazy. You don't want to get a reputation. There are people in the business coach space whose names you probably have heard. It's like, ugh, right? Like just they've just such a scummy reputation that why would anybody want anything to do with them? It's like the multi-level marketing people that everybody listening has at some point had an encounter with.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like they only care about the money and how it benefits them. And you do not feel like a person or a friend. And the people that I've met who've been sucked into that stuff, you know, their friendships change. People don't trust them anymore. And they're always incredibly egocentric in all of their efforts. Everything that they do, every interaction they have is designed to either grow their business, get them money, or they're not interested in people. And that's an icky sort of person to be around. And anytime I've ever encountered those kind of people, they stay very at arm's length. And there have been junctures where I've worked in the same environment as those type of people, and they create a lot of trouble in a gym environment. No bad news.
I'll probably expand on this a little bit like later in the podcast, but one of the big reasons for starting this whole endeavor was because the way I view so many in the fitness industry as sleazy, and there's clickbait and false marketing, and that's like my big thing. That was one of the reasons why this was all started, because man, it's like I see these people, it's so apparent about what they're lying about, or they're manipulating people for money. It's like I see it like in the details too. Anything from when someone has a sponsored ad saying, "Oh, I'm taking on this many coaches, like you better hurry to sign up." And it's like, no, dude, you've been playing that same ad for months, like, and you have 100,000 followers. Like, you're not looking for 3 people to join your course. Like, it's like creating fear of missing out for people, but like too much, you know what I mean? Like, so the sleazy stuff like that, it's just, I despise it. I absolutely despise it. So, yeah.
I tend to look at it this way too. It's out there. We know that it operates within some corners of our industry. I try not to fixate it. I recognize it when I see it, but I don't allow myself to get my emotional energy swept up in what these type of people, these type of marketers are doing. I don't follow people who engage in that sort of behavior. And I plug into, I have a limited amount of time to engage with half the people that I have some sort of connection to in the grander scheme of things in the industry. So my energy and my time is limited to those people who have demonstrated integrity, who have proven to be leaders in the industry, or up and coming people who are working hard, who don't engage in this sort of stuff. And I like to turn around and share and support and engage with those kind of people. So my experience is very curated to interact with and see mostly the positives. I mean, the bullshit seeps its way in. It's in your DMs. It's whatever in ads. But I see it and I'm go, no, it's delete. It's scroll. It's move away from it.
Yeah, that's that's good advice I'll have to take. But sometimes I feel like I get a little bit too worried about other people being sleazy instead of just focusing on doing the good stuff, like you were saying. So,
are you? Are you? And I mean, this is like not at you. It's more of a kind of a general thing. It's like, are you worried you're somehow going to become one of these people? Right? Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
So, and if we get swept up in this sort of thing, and this goes broadly in anything, if we get caught up in the negative energy of aspects of our industry or things beyond it. I mean, like, I don't like talking politics, so I won't, other than the superficial thing that there are people that live on Fox News or CNN, and some of them here may go one side or the other, and just hear me out.
Oh yeah.
Like, but it's not people who try to at least kind of know what's going on, but also being informed is also an excuse for really just being totally immersed in this crap. And what scares me is the type of person who thinks that a politician is going to save them. That somehow
that's scary.
Your person in, it's somehow going to change your life for the better. And I'm someone who focuses on, well, what can I do to change my life for the better? Politicians have been doing some stupid shit that is running interference on my world in the last 2 years. Let's be honest. So what I did things for myself that restricted their ability to actually influence my business, my earnings, my income. And I had a record year and I had a lot of cool career growth. And none of that had anything to do with who was in political power either way.
Yep.
So
That's
I,
so smart.
I can't function on that way. Like, and I try not to get, I'm very careful about not following people on any media who are peddlers of enragement, people who they're the talking heads of either sort of ideological side who just say and share things to get you mad, to try to create, and all sides create fear, they create anger. Yeah. And it's the stuff that we see on social media because people get soaked into it.
Yeah.
So if anyone listening who isn't offended by that little diatribe can pause and think about it and go, well, I follow, if you see something that the opposing side, it makes you angry. Well, it's a reaction. But what about the person you follow and you agree with who is hitting on these low-hanging fruit talking points that get you stressed out and frustrated every day? Ask yourself, is that actually an honest reflection of what's really going on? Or is it just stuff designed to get you to continue to consume their media, their fear, their anxiety, motivate you to do something? And is it in any way stealing some of your emotional energy, your wellness, your well-being, taking you off your mission and off track of ultimately, you know, if you're a coach, helping the client in front of you, doing things to work on and within your business? And I try to take this approach fundamentally to everything in my world.
Yeah. You said that so well, because I feel like, at least from a social media aspect or what we've seen the last couple of years, like where people try to force us to, you have to be in someone's camp. Like you have to be Republican and listen to everything they say, or you have to be a Democrat and listen to everything they say. And the last 2 years, I started to realize, I've talked about this with my wife a lot, I feel like I'm in nobody's camp. You know what I mean? Like, yes, like sometimes I might view things from, I don't know, you could call it to the right of the center if you want to say it, but that's not how I think across the board. And I don't go toward either political party just because it's that political party. I think that's so ridiculous, you know, and there's people that I feel are a bit stubborn and they just do anything that their political party says, whatever their camp says. You know what I mean? Like that's so ridiculous. Like,
there
I
are
don't
people
know.
that don't have an independent thought about any of this stuff. And people who somehow every single value system, belief, opinion aligns perfectly with the extreme end of political tribes or other ideological tribes. So we'll pivot this from politics into fitness. If you have a fitness ideological tribe, whether it's a nutritional approach to things, like everything is straight keto or paleo, or everything is CrossFit, or everything is in science or biomechanics or whatever, there's tribes springing up in all of these different places in the industry. Or if you have one particular camp, even if it's an evidence-based, got that bloody evidence-based community of which I tend to live partially within.
Yes.
It's really tribal and blind to, you start seeing people who it's like any retort is like, show me the studies. Like, no one's going to fucking read those studies. I follow people who are the evidence-based community, your Layne Nortons, your Mike Isertels, your respected people, James Krieger, there's a long list, who get into the research-based stuff. They understand the nuance, and especially if they're all agreeing for the most part, we know we're on the right track. And every once in a while you get someone who doesn't have, you know, an educational background in this stuff, who is making statements that ostensibly are research-based, and yet the actual PhD tier are disagreeing with them. Guess what? I'm gonna kind of side with the community that I trust as being the experts in that realm, and I can kind of just ignore whatever other shit's going on. But we also still want to be on guard against being overtly tribal in those things. My 11 years in the industry have been influenced heavily by a very wide array of individuals, and I do not live in one camp.
So
I think it's very dangerous when we do, because I won't say any names, but there have been instances where people are very much in one person's camp, only to find out that something happens to that person. There's some sort of major integrity foul. That person is, quote, canceled. And now where are you left? Right.
And Noah too, I don't know if you've noticed this. I've seen this popping up a lot lately, and it's kind of scary. So people that fall into these extreme camps that you're talking about, but before their name, they have the title of MD, or there's something like that. And of course, I'm not going to say any names on this podcast. People can do the research with that, but that's the part where I feel like it's hard to combat false information versus the truth. Because if someone sees an account on Instagram per se has 800,000 followers, there's an MD in front of the name, but they're saying pretty outlandish things like plants are going to kill you if you eat them, or you know what I'm getting at. It's like, what do we
Well,
do with
I'll
that
say
for
the
our
name.
listeners?
I'll say the names. You get like Dr. Sean Baker, who's the perpetuator of carnivore dieting, or God, Jason Fung, who is a nephrologist, as a kidney specialist who somehow is an expert in obesity but writing books, or you get Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz is a common one, or Dr. Joseph Mercola, blah blah blah. Honestly, if you want a heuristic as to who not to listen to about nutrition advice, is a medical doctor. Uh, if they have a large following and they're writing books. Now, there is
Yep.
an exception, and I will
Yeah.
point quickly to Dr. Spencer Nadolsky. Spencer's a friend, and
Yep.
he's legitimately evidence-based. He's nuanced.
He's great.
He is not one of the people who's perpetuating misinformation. There's also Dr. Yoni Freedhoff. He's Canadian. He's really good. He's not as well known, but he's still got alignment to the fitness industry. But beyond that, the big ones that are making the extreme claims. I mean, this is common stuff in the mainstream. It's what sells.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's what people will plug into because they're being told simple solutions to complex problems, being
Yes.
promised easier answers, or things align with someone's belief system. And okay, that's very human nature to plug into it. So
Yeah.
complaining about it doesn't really change anything.
Yeah.
So it's important that we as coaches individually share better information, work on our ability to create an audience, grow a following, develop our media, so that way we're positively affecting more people instead of spending our emotional energy complaining about things that we can't control.
I love that advice. That's fantastic. And how did this all start for you? Actually, let's rewind a little bit. I would love to hear, if you don't mind sharing a bit about your upbringing, and then we'll go into your accomplishments and fitness career and all of that. You grew up, it was in Canada, correct?
Yeah. So I live in Edmonton, Alberta. I've been here 15 years, but I grew up in the most eastern province, Newfoundland. So small province, island province. I grew up playing sports. There wasn't a lot of opportunity there. I did a Bachelor of Commerce degree because I didn't see myself rooted in, I never imagined a career in fitness. Certainly when I was in high school and university, this wasn't the thing it was. I mean, I graduated university 20 years ago. So, that gives you an idea, right? I've been around a little while on this stuff. Eventually I moved out here, had bounced around a few different career things, but got rooted in fitness as a career a little over 11 years ago. I found working out in gyms. I had a weight bench in my basement when I was a teenager, but really got serious about weightlifting, working out, strength training about 20 years ago. A lot of bodybuilding ideology, a lot of
Yeah.
bodybuilding magazines, all that sort of stuff. And that evolved over time. And I found resources like T Nation and the stuff that was out there. Started training at a commercial gym, worked there for 6 years, then left, pivoted out to my own business. I contract out of a facility called Evolve Strength, owned by a good friend of mine. It's a growing company in Western Canada. And along the way, a friend of mine, my friend Dean Guido, wanted to start a podcast. So we started that. He left it a year ago because he's gone to raise his newborn daughter, leaving it all to me. Then I started writing for my website. A friend of mine built a website for me because I don't have those technical skills. And I started writing. I started traveling to fitness industry events. I met a lot of people across the industry, which led to some connections that ultimately had T Nation invite me to go write for them 3 years ago, which is crazy honor. Always read them. That was really cool. So I still write for them as frequently as I possibly can to this day, which led Generation Iron to come knocking and ask me to write for them. It's turned into writing for publications like Barbend and the Personal Trainer Development Center. Who knows what the future holds there? Now that's turned into some speaking engagements. There's an event that a friend of mine hosts back in August. I went down to the US during all this crazy crap.
Yeah.
Spoke there. I'm presenting at Kabuki Education Week in mid-January coming up. So I've got that presentation to work on, and we'll see where that goes. Along the way, my friend Dean Somerset and I and a team, we hosted a conference here in Alberta. The goal was annually, and then of course COVID has screwed that up. but we had some big name speakers come in and did that. And I did the master of ceremonies organizer thing for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's very surreal to see all the cool stuff that's happened. And then, of course, the last 2 years, I really put time and effort into creating a presence on Instagram that complemented all these other sort of career pieces, which has led to steady, rapid growth, I guess. And that's where a lot of people are finding me now. And honestly, it's a little playground of fun, but it's just a cool place to share everything that I'm doing.
When you started all this, when you started in the commercial gym, did you see all this stuff happening in the future? Like, did you think you were going to be a writer for T Nation, all these other places, and speaking and having a good following and all this? Like, what was your vision back then?
I never imagined it. When I first started, I was overwhelmed and like scared that I wouldn't be able to do this. It turned out pretty well. It got busy fast. And this is kind of ties into something that goes into the Kabuki Education Week presentation, is I didn't believe I was the type of trainer that could write for T Nation or appear on podcasts or speak at industry conferences. I had this, I don't think it was so much a formal thought, but a general sense that, well, there's this community, this tier, this insider status, for lack of a better word, that I am not a part of, and I wouldn't know how to ever become it. So I'm just head down, train the clients in front of me, get really busy, make a living doing it. And over time, it just became more and more and more of a passion, to where I traveled to the fitness summit in Kansas City in 2017. That was kind of the eye opener. And I met a lot of big names in the industry and a lot of friends who are on the same journey I've been. So I went back in 2018. I went to Luca Hocevar's Fitness and Business Vigor Ground Fitness and Business Summit in late 2017. Met a lot more people there, a lot of great connections. And then, go to other events. And then there's a bunch of local stuff, continue to grow, expand relationships and community. Then the podcast helped facilitate connections with more and more people. And that podcast was ultimately what got me talking to Danny Sugart, one of the editors at T Nation, who turned around and asked me to write for them. And
wow,
these things just mushroom in a way that I could never have planned, imagined. I look back and I'm like, holy shit, there's no way I could have asked for this or hoped for this. And it just continues to, every once in a while, again, just waking up one day to an email and there's Generation Iron asking me to write for them. I'm like, is this real? These guys are the ones who do the movies. Okay, cool. The bodybuilding stuff. Or, hey, Kabuki Education Week. Holy shit. So it's still quite surreal. I don't want to think there's a whole bunch of imposter syndrome masquerading around in there. I think that's definitely a thing that people go through in a phase of their career. I feel I've worked very hard to earn a lot of this stuff now, but I'm still overwhelmed. And there's still a part of me that does not think of myself in the same category as a lot of the people that share that space.
I wonder all the time, does that ever happen? Because I feel like no matter where I am on the totem pole, I always feel like there's so much room to grow, and I guess it get better. I don't know if we ever come to a point where you feel like, I don't know, the expert, or in that special club you were talking about.
I think that the true experts don't think of themselves as experts, for starters, right? I think there are people who start smoking their own supply, drinking their own Kool-Aid, and get very full of themselves, right?
Yeah.
Narcissism in the fitness industry is a thing. It's not everybody, and I don't like dwelling on the negatives, but we have those people. I think the people with real integrity still are always trying to learn, are always trying to work on things. They're very grounded. They're down to earth. I have a lot of very down to earth fitness industry friends, people who I've been reading that person's stuff for years. A guy like Lee. Lee is very down to earth, very, very, very positive, very nice guy. Jordan Syatt is just, despite the following, he's still a very authentic, real person.
Can't wait to have him on the show next year. I can't wait.
He's great.
Yeah.
The vast majority of these people, I got to hang out with Martin Rooney in Seattle. I was at Luca's event this past year, and Martin's, he's high energy and he's a legend in our space, but he's still just this down to earth, great guy. And he's really passionate about what he does. He doesn't buy into his own status in this world.
I love that.
But I'm not so caught up. I'm not worried about the people who do. There are people who I've met who have a really healthy relationship with, they built something, They're very much focused on what they built, and they're really good at stepping out of the grander industry to focus on the things that matter, like their lives, their relationships. I was hanging out with Jordan Shallow, the muscle doc, this week, and he had a conference, local thing, and he invited me to come and participate with. And he's a great guy. Again, funny, intelligent. He's definitely not swept up in all the bullshit that's going on sometimes in our industry. He's worked very hard to build what he's built. He's created a team around him. He's created opportunity for other people, but he does not want to get caught up in any of the industry bullshit. He's really all about educating. He's got a phenomenal ability to remember names, make the people in the seminar feel important. If someone answers a question, it's not the answer he's looking for, he does it like, oh, wrong, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. It's like, he's got a very nuanced ability to make people feel welcome, to participate in it, to answer. He was one of the better public speakers I've ever seen. His use of analogy and making complex topics seem very accessible. He was great. So if anybody ever gets a chance to, see the muscle doc present his stuff, take advantage of it. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I can't wait to have. I think I told you already, he's going to be on next week on the show. I can't wait. And you guys sent me a shout out on Instagram. Yeah, that was amazing.
Quick video, right? So little things like that go a long way.
No, and the refreshing thing too, I was mentioning this, and when we first started talking, when I started all this, the thing I was worried about, which I was wrong completely. I thought I was going to be the only one that it wants to promote like truthful and good information. Like because I had seen for so long all this fake stuff, the IG, Instagram fitness influencer type of stuff. And I was like, man, this is going to be a very long and solo type of journey. And then after a couple months, I found Jordan Shallow and a handful of other people. I'm like, man, this is cool. There's actually some fantastic human beings here that I get to look up to and connect with and all that. So I was pleasantly surprised, because I thought this was just going to be me, wanting to speak to the general population of people, providing them with truthful information. So it's great that is not only me.
That's good. I'm watching my cat Ozzy try to paw down one of the stockings that's hung up on the mantle. Just like, oh,
Ozzy.
Ozzy's one of the stars of my social media. His big 15-pound black fluffy cat.
I think I did see him one time on your social media.
Yeah, I put up my story a fair bit. He's good stuff. Our industry is full of these kind of people, whether it's Sam Spinelli or Sohee Lee, or the people we've already named, or if it's Christian Thibodeau, God, my friend Jason Brown, there are Matthew Ibrahim. There are a lot of really fucking epic, awesome people. Megan Calloway, Lee Peel. I could spend the rest of this episode highlighting great humans who people should follow, especially because if we feel like we're drowning in the stuff that lacks integrity, the people who make the fake promises, the people who are overtly, marketing based, the people who have fake followings. A little hint, a lot of the followings in and around the social media are fake. A lot of some of these influencer types buy their followers and they buy engagement. Some don't buy the engagement at all. And you look at it and go, oh, this guy's got 75,000 followers and he gets less than 100 likes on his posts.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
I've encountered that stuff. Or you get someone, and one day they have 20,000 followers. The next day they have 35,000. Like, I've never gained more than 600 followers in a day. And I have depending on who you're talking to, a big following, but it's certainly not big compared to, say, a Jordan Syatt. And that was I started investing in that about 2 years ago to put in the time and effort and post daily. And it's grown steadily. And I get a share from a Mike Isertel or someone else, and I get a big surge, but that big surge is still 500 people. It's not, hey, 10,000 new followers one day, red flag. And I don't highlight this to try to look a witch hunt to find out who's got a fake following. But if you're a coach who's discouraged because, hey, I'm a really good coach, I don't have a lot of a following, and I see all these people with big followings, is like, some of them are authentic and real because those people have accumulated a career of accomplishment and hard work. Jordan Syatt, best example I've got, right? And then there are people who it's like, it's just a lot of selfies. Okay, cool. Maybe over time, that person has got some sort of status within the competitive bodybuilding or bikini world. and they've accumulated following because of how they look. Okay, fine. Like that's not my jam. I don't care about that. To each their own. Or maybe there's something incongruent between what they're sharing and the fact that they would have theoretically so many followers. Maybe those
Yeah.
followers aren't real. If you can start there and go, okay, cool. Maybe what I'm seeing is not always honest, because shit, I mean, imagine that
Yeah.
if you're not being honest about how they present themselves, but then not get swept up in it and focus your energy, your mental energy in good people who have succeeded with integrity, and then follow that path. And that's exactly what I've done. There are a lot of people in the industry who I have done a lot of things to kind of follow in their footsteps of a proven recipe to get out there in this space and educate. And it works, right? I mean, it takes a
Yeah.
lot of time and effort. There's no shortcut. It doesn't happen overnight. You better be damn patient, and you better put in the effort without any expectation of a specific return. Just put your head down, do the work, help people. Hopefully it fills up your clientele, your roster. And then if you find outlets, whether it's doing a podcast or if it's writing or if it's a YouTube channel, or if you want to go write a book or build a business that is fulfilling, that is easier for you to do because you find the work enjoyable. And if that ultimately leads more people to your doorstep, great. And that's what I focused on. That's what a lot of the people that I talked about who are credible people with larger followings, that's how they created it.
How long would you say until you were sitting there one day like, okay, this is working? Like I feel momentum here. Did you have a moment where that happened?
I think, I don't know if there was a specific moment. There have been periods of time early in my career where you look around, you're like, oh, my schedule's full. I feel really good. And then after a couple of months, it's not. I've been consistently crazy busy with my career. Absolutely. And I think one of the things I've done is anytime I feel like, ooh, my sessions are dropping off a little bit, you kind of get freaked out. You're like, oh, where's the next person going to come from? And the next person always comes through if you're doing the referral side of things and good work with the people in front of you and retaining a good local reputation and have a bit of a presence on social media. It still comes. But there've been a lot of like points where I've just got a little bit freaked out and, oh God, things are going to get a little thinner. I mean, even when those happened, God, about a year ago, as like I was sick. I got COVID, and that I was worried that, oh, my clients are going to be slow to come back, and we got this closed down and all this sort of stuff. And honestly, it bounced back really fast. So it's easy to worry about this stuff. I think there have also been several points along the way where I'm like, more so recently, just given just the number of messages and inquiries I get through social media, I'm more consistently having to turn away business, refer it to other coaches now, to where I'm just like, okay, I think we're probably pretty good here. But you never get complacent. You never get arrogant about it. You never think, oh, it's I got to stop working now. You never think that way.
What's your, I'm sure it's different on different days, but what's a normal day look like for you? If we can kind of see the different stuff.
God. Well, I'm not one of these people that is up at 6 a.m. or working at 6 a.m. God forbid that nonsense. I get up around 8 every day. I don't move super fast. I'm getting breakfast going, sit down, I'll respond to the messages that are there, kind of, that sort of stuff. My first client usually starts around 10, Thursdays, sometimes a little later, which allows us to have this podcast this morning. I was just on another podcast as a guest just before you, just worked out that way. And then, the busiest of the days will have, 6 in a row or 4 to 5 people in 6 hours at Evolve. And then I'll return home. I will get something to eat real quick. And then I may have 3 to 4 clients in the evening. And that's Monday through Thursday, Friday. 10 a.m. starts, same thing, but I'm usually done 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Then I'm going off to run some errands. I'll go work out. My workouts usually are at 8 or 9 in the evening after my workday is done.
Oh, wow.
I'll go work out Friday afternoon, run off to Costco, run some errands, whatever. And then like Friday evening is kind of a chill out night. Me and my girlfriend. Saturday, Sunday, I'll do a few sessions in the afternoon. I've set up a home studio as well through the last couple of years. So my evenings and my weekend clientele are now in my home studio, which allows me to split my time, to spend more time at home with Ozzy. I'm not gone all day long. It feels better. I find it's a way better sense of balance. And within gaps, I'm updating online clientele, sitting down, trying to work on any articles or presentations that I have currently active, any other project work. Within the week, I'll probably try to schedule a podcast of my own somewhere in it all, which requires a little bit of prep, obviously scheduling people's something to it, and then getting it up and running. But I don't think any day is really super typical, but that's the best I've got for you, I guess.
With your social media following, getting pretty big, do you just get hammered sometimes all day with questions, with messages and DMs and all that?
The messages are always manageable. I do not find it difficult to respond to it. And in fact, I'm always grateful for it. So I will never say anything to try to dissuade people from reaching out to me. If anything, I encourage it. There occasionally are, like, you get bullshit in your DMs. You're just like, okay, cool. I'm going to ignore that. That's not an actual fault. That's nonsense. And then sometimes people will ask things that are a bit nuanced. So I'll try to answer the best of my ability, or I'll try to direct them to a resource that I think will be more helpful, because I don't have all the answers. I can no longer respond to every comment on posts. It is just time prohibitive to be able to type and catch everything. It just gets overwhelming. And if you're that plugged into your social media, you find that it can wind you up, and it ramps up your sympathetic nervous system to where it's just like, can't do it, right? So I'll try to like everything. I'll respond to things surgically as I can if I got extra time, but I no longer put pressure on myself to actually respond to every comment. So shit like that.
Yeah, that would be hard. If there's hundreds of comments, I could see that taking a couple hours to respond to everyone.
And sometimes it is. And I've definitely noticed that, within the day, Ozzy's having a little run around freak.
Oh, I just heard, I heard the little pitter patter.
Skittering on the floor. Oh, upstairs we go. I found that, social media sometimes can take an hour to a day of time, which chews up a bit of time. The other thing that sneaks into my day as well that I forgot to mention is, if I'm cooking or driving, I'm listening to audiobooks. It's a really fundamental part of what I do. I just post on my Facebook my book list. I do it every year, kind of the end of the year, and I chew through a lot of books. If I can, I'll sit down and spend some time reading. I don't get a lot of time in front of the TV. Like recently, The Witcher's out. I'm a big devoted fan of The Witcher, and I've seen 2 episodes. Love the Marvel stuff. I haven't been able to get out to see the new Spider-Man movie. I'm 1 episode deep in Hawkeye, 5.5 episodes deep in Wheel of Time. And I read the books years ago, most of them. And all of a sudden, all this stuff is just dropped at the same time. I'll get through it. Christmas season will actually allow me to chip away at those things. But it's just like, whoa, too much. I didn't get out to see Dune. I know that Dune is supposed to be
good.
Super, so, I wanted to see that in theater. That wasn't something that was viable with the schedule. I think it's important to be able to create time to do things that you enjoy, but it can't encroach. The workouts have to come first. The work, the things that are essential have to come first. And then there's room and bandwidth for the other things.
Yeah, of course. And Dune, if you do get to watch it, Dune was really good.
I hope to. I know Denis Villeneuve, the director, he's French Canadian, and he's been doing really cool stuff. So I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah, it seemed really original to me, like the storyline and just the cinematography. I don't know. It was great. I think you're going to really like it. And I want to make sure I asked you today. I really like the message I saw, I believe is on your website, about creating sustainable and active lifestyles. And if you could expand why that's important, because I think that's the sustainability part is missed. I mean, I missed it for a long time, probably too, but can you just expand on that and then why it's important?
Okay, so 2 words: sustainable and lifestyle. Let's hit both. The sustainable part is something that I think most credible people are talking about in some way, shape, or form, as opposed to the cliche stuff like the unsustainable New Year's resolution type behavior, or fad diets, quick fixes, all this sort of stuff. We're only going to see successful lifestyle change in people if it's sustainable by its very definition. We need to find and help encourage and facilitate and create access for people, because we make these assumptions. The no excuses mantra doesn't work very well when someone doesn't have the same ability, access to gyms. God, the last 2 years have been a crisis on that front. But not everybody wants to get involved in strength training. I think strength training is one of the best things you can possibly do. And I try to make it appealing and accessible to people, encourage people to experience it, make gyms a more positive, encourage people to make gyms a more positive and welcoming place. I think all those things are key elements. But maybe that person ends up jogging. Maybe that person does CrossFit. For all the CrossFit hate, fuck it. Like if it gets boots in gyms and barbells in hands, cool, awesome. And while we know that some of the stuff that goes out of that world could get a little sketchy, people get hurt bodybuilding, they get hurt in the gym on a regular basis, they get hurt powerlifting. And I don't want to create a culture of fear. I think a culture of, oh my God, if you move the wrong way, your spine's going to explode. That's not helping anybody. Humans are profoundly fucking resilient.
Yeah.
But if someone finds anything that they enjoy, if it's fucking pickleball, great, cool, be active, go play pickleball. I got a client who loves it. If you don't know what pickleball is, go Google it, because I couldn't even explain it to you. It's like
we have friends that play it like a couple miles away from where we live.
To me, it's like table tennis, except you're on the table.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's kind of it. Like it's scale. But if we can find and encourage outlets for people to be active in whatever form that they want to be active, and that helps be sustainable. If you're forcing someone to do something they fucking hate, it's never going to work. Maybe the one-on-one relationship with you as a trainer is what keeps a person in the gym. Maybe that person really thrives in a group setting, and then they end up going and doing something like an F45 or whatever other sort of group modality there is, instead of complaining about group training and, oh, that's stupid. No, if it's getting people going in the gym, it's like people complaining about Planet Fitness. If I own a gym, which I don't, but everybody thinks I'm one of the owners of Evolve Strength. No, I just aligned with it and I contract out of there. The owner is a good friend of mine. Evolve Strength is a pretty serious athletic training facility. It's got very appealing to general population. It has powerlifters, Olympic lifters, what have you, but it's not the scary place that people might think it is. It's the people who go there are pretty serious about the results. One of the best things that could ever happen to Evolve would be to have Planet Fitness try to open up next door, because no one is graduating down from Evolve to Planet Fitness, but a lot of people will graduate up from Planet Fitness to, ooh, what's that place? I've outgrown this place that doesn't let me, do barbell shit. Planet Fitness also has a very aggressive marketing reach, so it's going to get a lot of eyes. Planet Fitness is not stealing customers from most other gyms, certainly not serious gyms. It is pure blue ocean, if you're familiar with that kind of stuff, where it's encouraging people who otherwise don't go to gyms to start going to gyms.
Yeah.
We know that group is vulnerable, and I don't think Planet Fitness does a really great job of facilitating sustainable, consistency for those people, but some of them will find it. And the ones that find it are probably going to graduate out of that space at some point, while the marketing engine continues to bring in new people. So it'll take some of those people and move them along into a more serious and sustainable place in the industry. And a gym and the type of trainers who are at a place like Evolve are going to benefit from that. So hell, open up. We want to have Evolves near the other, in every town, there's usually a stretch, a roadway that there's like 3 or 4 gyms on.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch. There's a Good Life and an LA Fitness, and the company I used to work for, who are been hanging on by a thread for years. They've just been, a dumpster fire of just bad decisions. And one of the reasons why I left them a long time ago. And we would love to find the right location to put one right in there amid all those other places. So it's abundance mindset, right? I'm not scared of competition from these things.
I've never been inside of Planet Fitness, but I was told that they don't have squat racks or anything like that. Like I said, I've never been in there though.
There's a lot of cliches. There's a lot of things that people don't understand about them. I think there are some of them that don't have the squat racks. I think there are others that do, from the impression I've been given. You're definitely not supposed to be in there grunting and banging weights and whatever. And on one hand, I think some of that behavior is stupid and attention seeking and ridiculous. Anyway, if I see a guy who's bench pressing, 75-pound dumbbells, he's grunting his way through it, I can hear him halfway across the gym over the in my headphones. I've been there. And then all of a sudden, instead of like nestling them down on his knees and putting them in the rack, they launch and tumble them and crash.
Yep.
Like, that's straight douchebaggery. And that's the sort of stuff that actually makes other new people feel intimidated by gym settings. I actually hate that stuff. And I'll stomp that crap out right in front of me if I'm going to a commercial gym where I'm just a member. I will actually let that person know, like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you too weak to control those goddamn dumbbells? I need to use the negative. Like, fuck off. You don't need to use the negative. Jesus Christ. But anyway, I see that dumb shit, and it's not very common, but it exists. There's always that section in the commercial gym that's been around for 10 years plus, where the heaviest dumbbells are, where the floor is a little bit warped over there.
Yep.
Idiots keep dropping the dumbbells. We don't need to do that crap. And if you know someone who's like that, you kind of know that whole thing is a performance to just show how hard you're going, right? Fucking nonsense. Anyway, I'm going to move off of that topic. But yeah, we get some goofy shit in gym culture. Most of it's really, really positive. We can also get swept up in the negative stereotypes and the negative stigmas and that stuff. If we perpetuate that stuff, we risk scaring away the people who really do want to get into that world, or we know should benefit from it. Right. So we want to be very careful about to the degree to which we actually perpetuate those negative stereotypes and the things that people fear that are not as real as they're worried about.
And I wanted to make sure I asked you this too, if you were on a similar journey as a trainer, kind of, because you were talking about your gym has a lot of athletic based stuff. When you started all this, did you have more of the urge to train athletes versus the general population, and that happened over time? Or what was that like for you?
Oh, I just started out, it was a general population thing. Everybody comes into being a trainer knowing what you personally know. There are some people who really start out from an educational point first, and they get a bit of a broader array. And a lot of stuff that I was rooted in was, the basics of kind of bodybuilding training, which there's a lot of good fundamentals in there. And then there's a very specific style hypertrophy training. But very quickly, I learned as much as I could about general strength and conditioning, I suppose, fat loss, getting people active, make sure that people are moving well. And I've always enjoyed working with the general population. I'm not one of these people that's aggressively tried to brand around a niche. I don't want to work with competitive powerlifters because I'm not skilled in some of the nuances of peaking them for meets, preparing them for meets. And I don't compete as a powerlifter. I'm a big human being and I'm a strong human being. I would be a mediocre powerlifter for my weight class. Bodybuilding, I've never competed there either. I do like a lot of the stuff about me personally. My training style is still rooted in getting stronger and carrying around a lot of muscle. I like that. That's me.
Yeah.
But I don't work with a lot of clients who want to be as super muscular as possible. I don't have a legion of young bros who want to get jacked. It's not really, I've trained plenty of them over the years, but it's not really a big thing for me. And despite writing for T-Nation and Generation Iron, which are ostensibly, those are the audiences, I find that I work with probably slightly more women than men. I work with adults of all ages. I've worked with young athletes, but those young athletes were not because I branded myself in that space. It's because of personal connections where people trusted I could do good work with some WHL hockey players, right? It's a junior league that's below the NHL. And I've had a number of those and a number of young athletes in other sports and some adult athletes who just participate in competitive recreational stuff, but we're not talking Olympic level. And it's all been very rewarding. I work very hard to have those skills. I work with police applicants. I work with fire applicants, people who wanted to train for the military, paramilitary stuff, done lots of that. Cool. But again, I don't build a brand around it. There are, again, like I said, those are dimensions that I don't want to work within. It was just kind of a natural evolution that just people kept getting referred to me in these different spaces. And then when I realized, okay, I just don't want to prep people for a bodybuilding show. I don't want to train bikini girls. Cool. I'll refer that stuff out now. Whereas I gave it a little bit of a shot with a long-standing client, some men's physique type stuff, but that's not for me anymore. And then again, if I get someone who's really serious about being a powerlifter, I'll take care of all the basics. But once it comes time for that person to start preparing for a meet, I'm going to go get one of the coaches that I know and trust who's great at that. And hey, you're going to go work with this person.
And if any of the listeners are looking to connect with you personally, or if they want to hire you, where can they go to do that? I'm going to make sure to link everything in the show description.
Everything. Instagram is really the easiest way to connect with me. Like I said, if anybody sends me a message, I will always respond to it. Go find me there at Andrew Coates Fitness, Coates. My website, www.andrewcoatesfitness.com. Great. But Instagram is a really easy place to find me. If I've got something published somewhere, I'm sharing it through there. Obviously share it on my email list, stuff like that. But, I got to earn people wanting to get plugged into that level. The podcast, the Lift Free and Diet Hard podcast. It's I rebranded about a year ago when my co-host had to leave to raise his daughter. The old one, we would have tons of industry leading guests, and there was the two of us. Now it's just me. So rebranded it, renamed it, pull it under my own individual brand umbrella. But yeah, all roads go through Instagram. So go find me there.
Awesome. I will make sure to link those for all the listeners. And
Appreciate
thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Mission Driven Made podcast. If you like the content, go and subscribe to the show and scroll down there, take a few seconds and leave us a 5-star review. It's going to help tremendously. And thank you, Andrew. It's been awesome getting to connect with you, especially, like I said, after just a few weeks ago, you immediately messaged me after I started following you on Instagram. So I greatly appreciate not just the value you gave all the listeners today, but for me too. And until next time, everyone, stay mission driven. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome.